starting on Wednesday. We do it every week at 9 o'clock. How many people are here for the first time? Good, good. Awesome. We have a couple great presenters today. Ready to get going. As always, I want to thank Kawa Coffee for providing the coffee to us. A wonderful group. Make sure you visit Kawa Coffee. And without any further ado, we'll start with our first presenter, Daniel Morris with VirtualHand.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Daniel Morris. I am the co-founder of VirtualHand. VirtualHand was founded in late 2014 as a way to help homeowners save money on their home repair bills. I presented here at 1 Million Cups about a year ago today, April 2015. And today I'm here to follow up on that presentation and talk to you about a little bit about the progress that we've made. But I'd like to start out by saying I'm not a plumber, I'm not wealthy, nor am I a natural born yourselfer. With that said, in October 2014, I had a stopped-up kitchen sink, and I didn't know what to do. I tried resolving the issue myself. I tried to use a plunger, I tried using Drano, tried messing around with the garbage disposal. That didn't work. Then I went to some online blogs and forums, tried checking out some YouTube videos to see if I could get some guidance there. No luck. So now what's going on? I've been basically forced to call a plumber to physically come out to my location. My only problem, I can't afford it. At the time, I lived in paycheck to paycheck, and $250 to $300 is a lot of money for me, which on average is what plumbers charge. So, me and co-founder Nick Stoikov, we create a third option, the VirtualHand option. So again, after I couldn't figure out what to do, figured out I didn't have money to call a plumber, I called a good friend of mine, Nick Stoikov, co-founder, who was living in Europe at the time, and asked him to assist me virtually in resolving my issue. So we got on Skype, did a video chat session, and here is a clip of the actual session.
Take the metal ring off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Now push the thing on the top, push it up.
This?
Yeah,
What do you mean push it up?
push it up.
It won't go up. Like that will. Okay.
Yeah, pick it up from the top.
End result, the issue was resolved. It turned out the motor on the garbage disposal was wrong. So he assisted me in removing that and installing the elbow joint. To follow up from last year, we have about 10 virtual hands on our site. Electricians, plumbers, HVAC technicians, and urban horticulture expert. We have 2 of them available today for questions and answers. So we're going to answer them shortly. Electrical problems are also common problems that can be resolved virtually over a video chat session. Here's a screenshot of a VirtualHand electrical session that helped the homeowner resolve their issues without having to call an electrician. So how does it work? You go to our site, you type in your issue, whether it's the electrical, plumbing, or some other issue, and then you connect with an electrician, plumber, or another home repair expert in real time, or you schedule a session for later in the day or week. We're looking into potential partnerships with Home Depot, Lowe's, True Value, and Ace Hardware. Competition, we did have one major competitor, Google Help Outs. They closed down in April of last year. With that said, we have a virtual hand on our site who was a provider for Google Help Outs. And I'm going to turn that over to him now. His name is Shane Manley. He's going to talk a little bit about his experience in assisting homeowners virtually with their electrical issues. We have them right now live from Long Beach, California. Okay, Shane, go ahead.
Good morning.
Hi, Jim. My name is Shane, and as Daniel said, I did spend some time with Google when they did their help outs sessions. I have an And so I do work on my own side. I also help consumers, homeowners, and property management companies resolve electrical problems, and I fix stuff too. So I'm intrigued that we all use technology as much as we do nowadays, and so I like the idea of being able to help people. I'm in California, so potentially helping people across the country and around the world.
And if anybody has any questions and answers, for Shane, he'd be happy to answer them involving his experience assisting users virtually over live video chat sessions.
That's it, right?
What's the cost involved?
Right now, we're doing 3 beta sessions, so users can go on to a 3 1-hour session. At some point, the VirtualHand will be able to charge their own rate, but we'll cap that. We're looking at $25 the hour.
So is it free for the user?
Right now, during the beta testing, it is free for the user. But once we get up and running, after the beta, then the users will pay the VirtualHand, and the VirtualHand will pay us a monthly subscription.
Is there liability concern, particularly with the advice on electrical systems?
Right now, we're looking into getting the appropriate insurance, liability insurance for that.
So give us a sense of what's the typical problem that the virtual service is really meant to deal with. Is there a ceiling as to the complexity?
Okay. Well, electrical issues are one of the most common repair issues. Shane Manley actually has been doing electrical sessions with Google, and he's an electrician, so I'm going to let him answer that as far as the typical quality he gets involving electrical work over a video chat session. What's the typical electrical issue that?
Yes, so what I've found there's a couple things where virtual hands can help consumers and users. One is for like a typical small home repair, maybe there's a problem with the breaker tripping or some lights that are not working properly, where it doesn't seem to be a major issue. And also with code questions. So like if someone is doing work on their own home and they're concerned, maybe an inspector said something or another professional said something to them and they weren't sure about it, they can use VirtualHand and we can help them with the code. And as far as in my trade, as far as the electrical code goes, to specifically do something correctly and legally and safely for that matter. So really anything from, the average small home repair, and this really doesn't necessarily just apply to the electrical work. I think ultimately it could be automotive or IT, but virtually anything. Now obviously it wouldn't be a large, like if you're doing a large construction project, because we're limited to video conferencing calls, but it's mostly counsel, advice, troubleshooting type things. If there's a troubleshooting problem. But there's quite a few ways that it can be used to help the average consumer.
Are there any concerns over licensing issues in the various states? Somebody in California is in effect doing plumbing or electrical work in Florida. There are concerns over the requirements of that.
Ultimately, the user is going to be doing their own work. Again, we're going to seek legal counsel regarding that. With that said, Google Help Outs did it, and from the research that we did, Google didn't have any issues with that.
Also, electrical codes change from state to state, and they change every 3 years. So if I can see that it's a homeowner doing their own work, so there's probably not going to be any legal issues from what I can see, because he's not doing work in their house. He's just giving them advice.
Yes. Just like if they went to a YouTube video and
Then done the work yourself.
Curious, was Google charging, and do you have any insight into why they get pulled out of this area?
Yeah, again, I'd like to pass that question on to Shane, because he was a Google Help Out provider. He asked, was Google charging, and how did that work with the interaction?
Yeah, so the way that it worked is when I did my sessions were free. So, you know, obviously it wasn't like I wasn't charged anything. The call or appointments through Google Helpouts were not charged when they contacted me for an appointment. Now there are those that did charge. So say if I were a provider and I was charging, as an example, like $10 an hour, just as an example, Google would charge the customer that made the appointment, but they would take a percentage. I think it was 20% of that. So I would only see like 80% of that charge. So Google handled the financial charge of that also based on what my rate was. And I would set my own rate as a provider when I was using Google Helpouts.
Any insight into why they pulled out of this line of business?
What was that, Daniel?
Any insight into why Google shut it down last year?
No, and the other Google Helpout providers that I spoke with over time, you know, none of us really could understand why, because we all believed that it was potential for, you know, it's a great idea. And so we honestly couldn't determine why Google did it or why they stopped doing it. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it was just maybe they were testing it for a larger reason for something else. But, you know, a lot of us that were providers wish that Google would have kept up with it, because I think what Daniel's doing with VirtualHand, once he figures out the right formula, I think that it'll catch on. So we really, I can't give you a specific reason why Google did stop it.
First of all, great presentation. I love how you actually showed the video of your problem that created this business. A lot of people fail to really capture that moment. And actually having the provider on your video here, that's just awesome. It shows it evolving. I do want to push further though on the question about Google. But your presentation was awesome, aside from you're leaving us with a slide that says Google closed this business without having a strong why. And Shane, I think, you know, I'm sure he's an awesome provider of, you know, as the providing that assistance, but that's similar to asking an Uber driver why Uber pulled out of Tampa when there might have been a legal or political or insurance or something issue overall. So if it's, I would either take that out of your presentation unless you know a really strong definitive reason why this is why they pulled out, but this is why it doesn't matter to me, because we're taking a different angle, or they pulled out because they couldn't make more than $1 billion on it. You know, whatever that answer is, I think it's throwing up a lot of red flags.
Okay.
Outside of that, just awesome presentation.
Just to expand on that, they did put out an official statement basically saying that they didn't experience the growth that they expected. With that said, our expectations for growth are different from a $1 billion company like Google.
So if you can explain that, then that's fine, I think, right? And then move past it, but that's, I think, up to there, which is awesome.
Okay, thanks.
I've called one of my brothers in particular many times over the years for homeowner repair problems, so I get the concept completely. I'm thinking, and I don't know what the exact dollar amount is, but in terms of the pricing, it only takes 30 seconds to have someone tell you, hey, did you check the fuse box? So maybe the first 30 minutes is $19.99, an hour is $24.99, something like that, so that people don't feel like they paid a real lot for somebody to save a couple of strokes.
Yeah, we were actually looking into doing half-hour increments. So yes, thank you.
So if Shane gets $25 an hour, how much do you get?
So the virtual hands will pay us a monthly subscription fee, $12 monthly. And then the income that they generate will be between the user and the virtual hand. We don't charge a transaction fee.
So if you have 10 providers, that's $120 a month that you get.
You know, there's a lot of great information out there. People set up their YouTube
YouTube channels with it. Have you thought about instead of going that way, saying, okay, here are the 100 most common situations that homeowners run into on a DIY basis, build out that infrastructure, and then instead of a subscription-based model, more of an advertising-based model, and you drive that free content?
No, what we didn't want to do was compete with YouTube. But with that said, we will have information, informative information regarding home repair issues on our site, there on Facebook. What we don't want to do is compete with them. So no.
How are you not going to compete with YouTube? Because there's thousands of videos on there that are DIY. DIY. So I know there's definitely troubleshooting in it that's going to be helpful, where they guide you through like that. But if they have a specific model, a specific problem they already know, they can go on YouTube and look it up and do it step by step.
That's correct, and if they can do that, then that's fine. From my own experience and experience of talking to other homeowners, there's a lot of YouTube videos don't address specific needs. But if that's the case, if they go through YouTube video or online platform and figure it out, then so be it. But if everybody was able to do that, then there's no need to call an electrician or plumber. In this case, an electrician or plumber is going to walk you through, be there with you every step of the way.
How are you going to manage the probability that a user is not going to have the tools required to complete a repair?
Good question. A lot of the virtual hand sessions will be two parts, the troubleshooting and diagnosing. In that case, there'll be initial consultation with the electrician or plumber, etc. And in a lot of cases, you will need either tools you may not have or replacement parts. So then we'll reschedule the second part, which is resolving this issue. So a lot of the virtual hand sessions will involve two sessions.
And then I guess the follow-up to that, along with is pricing. I mean, how do you manage 5 minutes of diagnostics and 25 minutes of virtual over the course of 2 separate sessions?
Well, we'll have like half-hour increments, so it's 5 or 10 minutes. That gives you a minimum that they would be charged. And then if they came back in the second session, so we have the pricing for we could implement that to the final price.
How quick is your turnaround time? Like, is it something that's a 24/7 service, or if my, sink starts leaking at 3 a.m., am I going to have to wait till the morning to have some help?
Well, we will have, if it's an issue like that, we will have virtual hands on site that you can connect with them instantaneously. Or if it's not an issue that has to be resolved in there, you can schedule a session for later today.
Can you kind of help me understand something with them being able to contact the provider? Are they contacting each other through your website, through an app? Is it connecting through like Skype, or how are they doing that?
Well, right now we're using Skype for beta testing. So you go on our site and you you schedule a session with your virtual hand, and then you'll get a follow-up email with the virtual hand Skype information, etc. Then you log into Skype at that particular time, and when the session is scheduled, connect with the virtual hand at that time. Take one more question, and then
Have you thought about an and, where for the simple situations, the simple YouTube type video can cover it, but if it's more complex where they need the level of service and help that you're providing, then that's an extra part. So now you have an extra revenue stream driving.
well,
And also driving more traffic.
the individual virtual hands will be able to market themselves independently of us. So, for example, Shane has his own video on YouTube, etc., talking about electrical issues. So yeah, you'll be able to go to our site. You may be interested in a particular virtual hand, and they may have videos of their marketing themselves.
You referenced possible partnerships with Home Depot, Lowe's, et cetera. How do you envision that working?
So we're looking into offering, say, coupons on our site for replacement parts, tools, etc. For example, you do a virtual hand session, hardware, you mentioned you gave a quote or you mentioned our site, you get a potential discount. And for stores like Ace Hardware to do some cross promotion with us, promoting us to their kind of stores, etc.
Maybe instead of challenge what you don't want to do, you can actually use YouTube as an advertising source. So people like Shane who are on there, you can plug them in like VirtualHand, be like posting videos for simple thing that people look up. And like there's always those comments that are like, hey, how do I do this? And like, check out my VirtualHands.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to our second virtual hand who's available today, Stefan Badgett. He is a urban agricultural expert, also a hydroponics expert. Right now, you can also connect with him on VirtualHand, and he'll show you how to start a home garden or some growing on vegetables.
Yeah, like I said, I met him about a couple months ago at the Tech Rush, and I was involved with the aquaponics system work in agriculture, hardscaping, Florida native gardening, all that stuff. And then I was great idea to teach people how to start a small-scale aquaponics system, how to change some native grasses or just regular grass or turf over something native, drought-resistant, as we saw in California. It's something that could definitely happen here in Florida, so I think it's a great idea to get something like that started now. I think it's a good application for VirtualHand. Sessions can be done really easily, so if you guys have any questions about what aquaponics is, which simply is putting together hydroponics and aquaculture, growing fish and plants together. It's the most efficient way to grow food in a very small space, urban spaces. If you have any questions about that, or kind of native planting, landscaping, vegetable gardening, that's the kind of stuff that I want to get involved in, be part of VirtualHand. So if you guys have any questions about that, I'd love to answer them and possibly do a data session.
I think that's a really great application, kind of like personalized learning. Something that's, because the whole like electrical stuff, I would use that, but I probably know a lot more about electrical than most people. And most people are like, I'm not going to touch that. It seems like for a lot of that, it's kind of a very narrow market. But something like that, everybody, most everybody has access to the outside with aquaponics. It's like, well, it's a huge market. And people don't know about it. This, the whole idea of like personalized learning and guidance tutorial. In my review, you might be able to understand the products. Like I just bought, I'll use an example, I just bought a 3D scanner. And I know a fair amount about it, but there's a lot you could do with it. And if you had an expert like using a 3D scanner, it's like, oh, I'll tap in and get some instruction and guidance.
Thank you.
I think it's a great application.
So, one thing I think is a great idea, I can't tell you the number of times I go to Home Depot, buy stuff, and then have to return it because it's the wrong stuff. But what are your targets for the end of the year? How many VirtualHands do you want on board? How many users are you trying to get? Where do you hope to be at the end of the year?
Right now, our goal is to have 500 VirtualHands signed up by the end of this year. And we figured to keep VirtualHands happy, it would be 4 sessions per month. So it's approximately 2,000 sessions, 2,000 VirtualHand sessions per month.
Well, thank you again for coming back out to present and having, as Chris said, I think it's really fun dynamic having an expert there with your presentation. So how can we as a St. Pete community, how can we help you grow and get VirtualHand off the ground?
Yes. So having a community account, right now we're doing free beta sessions. So we're asking the community to schedule a beta session with us. Or if they have friends or family that have an electrical issue, plumbing issue, air conditioning, they want to start like a small scale aquaponics system in their home. They're trying to take on a remodeling project where they want a second opinion or an estimate. Right now they can connect with us on VirtualHand. And again, we're offering free 1-hour sessions. We're capping at 25 sessions. Also to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, VirtualHand USA. All
at our email at the end of the week. So if you're not getting that, there's a sign-up sheet right by the door. Fun fact for everyone, today is actually the 4-year anniversary of 1 Million Pups. And nationally, about 3 years here in St. Pete, so now we're in about 75 different cities across the United States, and are even international in Morocco. So, fun fact of presenting with 1 Million Pups is if you present at one location, you have access to all other locations throughout the country. You want to take a trip to Morocco, that's fine, just make sure you take me with you. So it's a really great program put on by the Kaufman Foundation for you guys that are new here. We have 2 startups every single week that present, under 5 years in business, doing something innovative and scalable in their field. So if you have any interest in presenting or want to know some more information about the program itself, please feel free to grab me after the fact. So I am very proud to stand up here for our next presenter. She is a recent graduate of our Tampa Bay Caregiver Accelerator. It's a fun 9-week program helping to be funded by AARP here locally. So please give her a warm round of applause. Her name is Sherry, and she's with CareGivingApp.
I took care of my mom for 7 years, and I was tough being a caregiver, but it was also very rewarding. When she passed, I thought I had done a really good job, but a month later I was diagnosed with cancer and spent the next year and a half being a patient. And I learned what that was like, and that was very frustrating, isolating, and I didn't want to be a burden on anybody. So when people would come up to me and say, if there's anything I can do, just give me a call, that was never going to happen. I just wasn't going to do it. So I realized that there was a huge gap between friends and family and caregivers, patients, communication. It just wasn't happening. So we came up with CareGivingApp, and it's a mobile application that connects friends and family, patients, caregivers, and hospitals remotely. And you can do it all on an iPhone. And so it is up and it is running right now, and it is free for patients, caregivers, or friends and family. But while we were developing it, we saw that there was a major problem, and that in the hospital system, patients aren't getting the care that they need when they leave the hospital. 1 in 5 Medicare patients right now is being readmitted to the hospital within a 30-day period. That's costing Medicare an avoidable $17 billion. It's very, very painful for the hospitals now and expensive. They are being fined for readmittance, and that now with the bundling of care, hospitals and physicians are no longer being paid for those readmits. So they're getting fined, and then they're also getting a $10,000 to $30,000 hit every time that they come back. So, avoidable readmissions is our target market. The major readmittance reasons are poorly managed discharge instructions, poor medication compliance, failure to keep post-discharge follow-up appointments. The studies say that patients who have a good support network at home don't go back to the hospital. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story how this kind of works. Mary is a 60-some-year-old lady, and she has a couple kids. She lives alone. She was in the hospital. Now she comes home. The discharge nurse will put in her discharge instructions, all her medications, and her return to follow-up trips with biometrics that the friends and family cannot see. What the biometrics include weight, blood pressure, diet, glucose, medications. And if the patient is incapable of doing the app themselves, they can have a care buddy help them and run the app for them. And through push notifications, it'll come in and say, it's time to take your medication. And you just push a button that I took them, and it'll check it off in the app so that the other caregivers can make sure that you're being compliant. Friends and family can go to the calendar and see that we need the dog needs walking, and I need food, and this is when I want visitations, they can just click on that, and it goes into their calendar. You can use it for visitation, childcare, food, appointments, walking the dog. This is just a dashboard that the hospital can see, and they can see everything. They can check in on all the care recipients, supervisors, caregivers, and see everything that's going on. Averting just 1 out of 10 avoidable readmissions could save up to $2 billion annually. And today, on April 4th, a new article just came out that said that 27% of all readmits are avoidable. So those numbers are going to go up. We have a subscription model for physicians and hospitals. And presently, we are negotiating to do beta tests in the hospitals. We need to get the data. We don't know how much we're actually going to be able to save the hospitals yet. Some of our competitors are, for one example, is Health Loop up here. They have an email that is sent automatically every day from the physician to the patient, and all it asks is, how are you today? And that had a big help with reducing readmittance. So we have great expectations covering all the bases that we're going to get some really good data. After completing the beta test, we will target 2,500 hospitals that are having high readmittance. Other domestic markets include physician groups, 5,000 surgery centers, and another 2,500 hospitals that are interested in cost containment. We are not limited to the U.S. market, and there's also possibilities with the insurance companies and other home health agencies that are also going to be fine with the new bundling of care. We want to coordinate the best personalized home care for the patient, ensure predictable outcomes, produce great success stories for doctors and hospitals, and build a greater allegiance for the hospital through volunteer family and friends. We are looking for other beta test sites and are looking forward for funding and for partnering. And we have a diverse team with diverse skill sets, including an MD, a counselor, IT, developers.
Can you explain to us more about where you're at exactly in this process? Is the app running? Is there a portal you can go log into?
Yes, and you can go to CareGivingApp.com. You can download the app. It's iOS, Android, web, Spanish, English, and HIPAA compliant. Like I said, it is free right now for friends and family and patients, and we intend to keep it free so that people can just use it. Where we want to market and target is battery things. We can save hospitals so much money by just being able to prove that. Yes.
As the partner of someone who had a two-way bypass about a year and a half ago, this strikes me as, wow, really. And what I remember about after this very short stay in a very good hospital, one of the most overwhelming challenges was managing the number of medications. And there were so many that I, who generally hate Excel, made a spreadsheet because some medications you get twice a morning, some and then repeated, and it was crazy. So he didn't have to get readmitted, not just because I managed the medications, but my question becomes, doesn't the hospital have to have a sense of compliance? So for example, if what this is doing is helping home care really fulfill the orders that are given on paper right at the hospital, right? I'm seeing on this in my head, okay? Doesn't the hospital have to have a sense of, well, what was the compliance with the orders? The hospital is providing the service.
They really, when you leave the hospital, you're pretty much on your own.
Right, exactly.
Right. Well, what they're doing now is finding the hospitals and not being charged for the readmits. So now that the hospitals will care. But my question is, okay, this is Tom Stokes, he's a co-governor. Come up with one.
Well, I think the answer to the question on this is that when a hospital is using CareGivingApp and the patient is discharged from the hospital and the supervising or the discharge nurse enrolls the patient, registers, and puts the discharge information into the medications, okay? There would be a supervisor nurse, discharge type nurse, who would then look at the patient every day. Okay? Because when you saw this dashboard up there, okay, they go, oh, this supervisor, the hospital dashboard, so this supervisor is taking care of this group of people. That supervisor says, okay, well, Bob, I'm worried about Bob. We sent Bob home 3 days ago, with a bypass, and so they can pull that up and look at everything that the patient can see, or his neighbors, or the official medical caregivers can see. And they can see that Bob has 3 family members that live in the neighborhood who are coming over and bringing food and visiting. They can see that he has this return visit to the hospital, transportation made by his friend John, and they can see that he is taking his medication, because when you take medications and you check off, it reflects on the medication list and calendar that medication has been taken. Okay, so they can observe it. Okay, and if you're also entering his blood pressure, blood sugars, and weight, then go, well, damn, he's gained 5 pounds in the last 3 days. He's putting him on water. We better get him back in here and take a look at him before he gets sick.
So you close the circle.
Yes.
Exactly. And see, the other thing that I really, I'm sorry, I just really.
That's okay.
Question, but, and it's very easy for the physician or the nurse who's tracking it to go from one thing to the next very quickly, go from one patient to the next patient and run through all the vitals on that patient so that they're not missed, because it's very easy for somebody to fall into the cracks.
Would it be more realistic to assume that an alert should go out to the care provider, the hospital, the nurse, that says, hey, this patient has not checked into the app, has not been complying with this process, as opposed to assuming that the nurse or the hospital is going to take on a daily review of all, released patients over a period of time?
I think that's something that we're going to have to work out in the beta test. Working with discharged people in the hospitals already is very
I'm sure.
So,
I think that this would be a good thing for them, if they show that somebody used the app, did everything they're supposed to do, still gets readmitted, but they can object to not getting paid for their readmittance if the patient's doing what they're supposed to do, and still gets readmitted. So they have a case.
they would have a case.
All right, who's gonna support y'all, actually put out y'all fines? Who's gonna support you?
In terms of monetary?
Yeah, okay, it would be the hospitals, or physician groups. Right now, like orthopedics, if you have your knee done and you go back to the hospital, they're gonna pay for, the physicians are on the hook for that now as well. So, for those groups where it's financially going to hurt them, is what we're trying to do, is relieve that cost for them.
One opportunity also is to see if you can also create a volunteer base, because it is unfortunate, because there are people out there who don't have friends and family to rely on to help them with caregiving.
Yes,
So
that's a great idea, because we were hoping that the hospitals with all the volunteer people would want to be a care buddy for somebody and monitor these people that are going home all by themselves. Right.
And a lot of these people don't want to tap into that resource because they want to be independent, and you have people of different mindsets, and like you said yourself, you don't want to reach out to anybody. They say, call me if you need something. Well, same thing for these independent people, and so I think that it would be really good to really help them understand, to really tap into it and not be afraid of it and things like this,
So is this a nonprofit or is it a business model?
Right now, we're nonprofit, but no, we are.
Yes.
Or home health agencies, yes.
And
town that you're working with?
All of them. It was just trying to nail it down.
But they haven't, nobody's actually started a pilot or anything? Okay.
No, yes.
I've been home care for about 5 years or so, and I just think this is a really good idea to help organize things, because the agency that I was working for has been, had some issues with keeping things in order, keeping track of the patients, their care plan. So I think this is.
Right, so you're used to seeing the notes in the papers
Yes.
all over the table, with all these people coming in and not knowing what's going
Yeah.
on. This way, everybody can just look in and say, oh, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. And there's a journal, journaling on there, there's a photo gallery, there's a messaging, there's all kinds of shopping lists, there's all kinds of stuff there to make it very friendly, even a photo gallery. Yes?
It seems like you're framing your business model in terms of a relationship with hospitals. And if I understand it correctly. And following up what this lady said, it seems like your application and your service, products and so forth, have a wider application outside of a relationship with hospitals that could benefit. How much energy are you putting into finding those other applications?
A lot. No, we were looking at, I had a good conversation with some people yesterday with guardianship, who are taking care of, lots of patients, and we're still doing it all on paper. And they were really excited, so that's a whole other market that I've really not looked into yet. Yeah.
Great presentation, thank you. Concern I have is like looking at your logo calendar sharing, right? So if I had to take a guess, you started with a specific individual problem with caregiving, and now you're shopping those medications, photos, this, that, and then trying to sell into big hospital systems where electronic medical records took years and billions of dollars to make that big shift. Are you attacking something too big and broad versus what I like about the, how are you doing today? It's a very simple, addressable thing that can be implemented without having to sell to a major hospital system or build out lots of features and technology. That's just my concern, is that saying, hey, we're going to have a complete end-to-end caregiving electronic system and sell to major hospital systems seems like an enormous challenge. I don't know. That's just there's something
The
specific.
automated mail too, they have the exact same problem, because they also have to have somebody on staff looking at that on a daily basis and making sure they do not miss those letters.
I understand the problem.
But it's, and I take that in. The reason we got more friendly inside of it for the friends and family is some of the people that are using it were cancer patients, and they criticized me all the time because it's too clinical. They didn't want to use it. Friends and family didn't want to get in and help because it was not a friendly place to go. So they're like, you've got to make it fun. You've got to make it engaging so people will want to go with it and they'll want to see the pictures. You want them to come back. Yes.
I know that earlier you mentioned that it would be saving the hospital's money. Where does the patients come in as far as saving monies on their end? And having this, the hospitals just, most of them, I can't really, I don't want to, but they fluff you. It's next, next, next. So how is this really going to come to play when it's really the corporation and money? What's that?
Does the patient want to go back to the hospital?
Not really.
Right, well, that's the benefit to the patient.
Right, but will the hospitals actually adhere to this? Because most of them, it's just next, next, next. It's a business, and most of the time, that's what we get.
Well, it is a business, and that's why we need to be in contact with the people that their job is on the line unless they reduce readmissions for the hospital, because it's costing the hospital hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year.
Now, your average readmission for, say, a heart patient who has to go back in is between $10,000 and $20,000. Okay? Now, that used to be profitable in the hospital. They billed the patient for the initial visit, they discharged him, he had to come back a week and a half later. That's another $10,000 to $20,000. The hospital got billed for that. He came back a few weeks later, billed for that. Okay. Now the opposite is true. Patient comes in with the initial problem, gets discharged, comes back a week later. It costs the hospital $10,000 to $20,000 to tune him back up and release him again. But this time, the hospital does not get paid for that readmission under the new Medicare bundling guidelines. So the hospital doesn't want these people coming back within a certain time like that for initial discharge. In most cases, 30 days, in some cases, as long as 90 days. Okay? So that's the hospital's incentive to pay attention to what's going on to the patient after discharge. Now, whereas previously they had no financial incentive to do so.
One of the big things that's interesting is it's ownership of the patient. Ownership used to end when the patient left the hospital or left home care. Now that the ownership is all the way through until you're better. So that's where everybody has to step up now and take responsibility for the patient. Yes.
I would have thought that primary care institution would be the natural place to be with private market, because it's their job to keep you, in the community after care. Within that 30-day period, you'll be seeing that primary care physician for follow-up or a specialist. So I would have thought that your model would be more directed towards the primary care side.
That's true in a completely altruistic world, okay? But currently, there's very little to no financial incentive for that doctor to spend the extra time or have his nursing staff spend the extra time to take care of this, to monitor the patients as closely after discharge. And until they're actually on the hook financially, it's probably not going to happen. Sure.
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
You got it.
No, I was thinking along the lines of how this might be beneficial with pediatricians and new moms coming home from the hospital. Because I actually had an emergency C-section, so I was coming back from a surgery that I didn't plan for, wasn't expecting, and there were so many things they managed with the newborn of visitors, medications for myself, checkups for the baby, because when you come home, they have to go to the pediatrician within like 2 days, which I did not know that. And so there could be incentive with pediatricians to actually draw in new patients and remind you to come in and let's talk about this and let's go over this. And yeah, and you go, those first 6 months, you go quite a bit for different checkups, and it's easy to lose track of all of that. So just thinking about that network, that a new mom might really appreciate something like this, as well as her network of support.
Thinking about the business model, 2,500 targeted hospitals, 10,000 patients per year. What would you charge? $1, $10? How were you thinking?
How much would we charge?
You're going to go through the debate and you're going to learn more about what the actual expenses are. Right. That said, you've got $1.7 billion there. Not every patient's going to require it. What are your thoughts or conversations with the hospital so far?
Well, I think we need our data from the beta test. If our numbers turn out to be 1 out of 10, that's going to be X amount of dollars that it's going to save for those people. If it's 5 out of 10, it's worth a whole lot more.
Yeah, so
and I don't think we can really go in and...
Yeah, if we can show with the beta test figures that we're going to say that for this hospital, it has a 25% readmit rate, and they're taking a $1 million a year hit on their quarterly readmissions, and we can reduce that by 20%, 30%. So you're looking at $200,000, $300,000 savings for the hospital. It would be a reasonable subscription, to charge 10 to 25% of that. It would be extremely attractive to the hospital.
I kind of see that maybe there's two different aspects to the business. You have the medication side, which is I think is a huge part of it. That's why a lot of these readmissions happen, and then the community care part of it can come on and help out those cancer patients, people that need that companionship and help. Is there any kind of data that maybe that vital aspect of taking the medication on time, which is preventing a lot of these readmissions, maybe goes inside or not as important or whatever the community part?
Well, the community doesn't have anything to do with the friends and family. It would be put onto your app so that caregiver will do that for you. It has an obnoxious unique alarm that goes on until you turn it off. And if you don't push the button that I've taken my medications to complete it, it will send you another message in 5 minutes to say, you did not take the medicine, take it, you know. If they completely miss it, you know, you're gonna miss people, you can't even, with home health, you can't even say, here, take this pill and make sure it's gotten in. Yeah.
Who's inputting that data into that?
When they leave the hospital.
The patient's, the caregiver's data are putting that information into?
Right, the patient can do it, the patient's administrator can do it, and anybody in the hospital, home health agencies can do it. Friends and family cannot do that, and they cannot see that data. They don't.
Following on that, the hospitals expressed an interest in assigning a person to input this data. Do they see the value of it?
That's what we're working on. Yeah, so we see that the hospital CEO is a financial person.
If you could grab us a CEO.
We
We're like in the witness protection program.
We are talking with the CEO up in Dunedin. We've got Harvard Medical, we're talking with. Since we make a level, is it a market person, is it a financial person? Who's talking with right now, Laura?
That one is head of patient planning. Nursing service. Yeah, well, ultimately, you're probably going to be talking to the CFO. Yeah.
And it is perfect to use in a hospital's marketing, because they can say, you know, now we care about you here, we care about you, you know, we believe.
And they can be branded. They can be branded, and so, you know, you not only reach the patient, but if the patient has, you know, half a dozen or a dozen friends and family that are, you know, involved in the app too, they see all the branding as well. So it's great for goodwill.
If somebody misses their medication 2 or 3 times, you could have an alert go to the app on the doctor's side where it would tell them, call them and find out what's going on. Is the medication not right for them? Is there a reason they're not taking it? You know, that way it can bring the people to higher priorities that need medicine that they're giving them.
We will work that kind of thing out in the beta test and see what they actually want. We'll see.
What kind of media have you seeked out so far to get some exposure to what you offer?
Oh, are we done?
You can answer the question.
Oh, you're answering, you're not.
Okay, can you take another more questions?
Yeah, you can answer.
Media, what have we done nothing really with media?
Because it's such an important topic, you know, for aftercare, you know, after hospital care, you know, so I think that that would be really.
Like, we're on Facebook, Twitter.
Well, reaching out to publications, you know, and.
We want the beta test first. We need those numbers. I mean, that's where we're at. It's up, it's working, people like it, but if we need the numbers, we need to know exactly what we have.
Great presentation, Jerry. So how can we as a St. Pete community help you in CareGivingApp?
Give us the secret phone numbers of some CFOs.
Well, tell your friends and family if there's a service out here that they can just go and use, but we really, really need to do a beta test with either a home health agency, a physician's group, or hospitals. We need to get our data.
Well, no, the agency I was working for was actually bought out by a bigger company, so maybe I'll mention it to them and.
Thank you.
Because I think it's a great idea.
Great, thank you, Jerry.
Two great presentations once again, VirtualHand, CareGivingApp, awesome. And we have lots of presenters lined up for the next couple of weeks, right? So for the next 6 weeks, we are booked with 2 presenters each week for the next 6 weeks, so keep coming back to see more. If you are thinking of presenting, and you're like, hey, maybe 7 weeks from now, might be ready, we'd love for you to just go to 1 Million Cups, just Google it, 1 Million Cups St. Pete. Join the community. Even if you don't want to present, you can still join the community as an attendee to get on top of our notifications on who's presenting and all that. But if you're less than 4 years in business, less than $1 million in revenue, doing something innovative and scalable, we'd love to have you come up and talk in front of the group at whatever stage you are in your business. Thank you again, Kala, for our coffee sponsor. And if you are not receiving our email list as to who's presenting next week, we've got a list back there. I just need you to do one thing before getting back in your car. Go on your Facebook or Twitter or wherever and just say, hey, I was at this awesome entrepreneurship event that's every single Wednesday at St. Pete at 9 a.m. Free coffee, 2 presenters. A lot of people even say, hey, my boss lets me go to this thing in the morning. Because I go back and say what I learned and my boss is interested, right? Whatever that may be. Spread the word, right? Because we still have some more room in this room for private. So we'd love to see them next week. Share, tell your friends. 1 million posts. See you next Wednesday.